Damn, those things are pretty hard, those from the palm trees.
Hace mucho calor eso, exactamente. Ahí me dijo mi buen amigo Gabriel, no importa, ¿qué dijiste? No importa que bebidas mientras que está bien frío o algo así. No importa la cerveza que sea, pero que esté bien fría. ¡Eso! Boost. Eso. Bueno, pues, amigo. Espérame. Vamos. Hey, eso, a ver. Sí. Órale, pues, aquí estoy. See you around, man. Exactamente. Dice KevTV, saludos, brother. Chimiche Ramírez, buenas tardes, dejando mi like, muchas gracias, brother. No, realmente no sé cómo está ahorita la señal, porque esa zona, mucha gente no tiene buena señal, es muy pixelada, no sé cómo está. Luego me comentan. De mientras les voy a enseñar, para que vean que no es nada.
Limón, tequila y Coca-Cola.
Sal de mar, tequila. De tequila va a la mitad del vaso y va con Coca-Cola.
Vamos a probar entonces el trago que lo vamos a probar gracias a ti, porque nos convenciste, Vamos a probar primero las damas, después los caballos. Tengo algo con el sal. La sal no es tu favorito.
No sé si el trago tiene sal o solo el borde.
Solo el borde.
Ah, el trago en sí entonces está rico. Pero
está rico. Siento que con 3 de estos uno es madre. No salimos de aquí.
a Mateo le encanta el sal. La chela, fue amando todo. ¿Qué tal?
¿Qué tal?
Me encantó.
Chaparros, como su compadre, él decía gordo y chaparro como mi compadre el batanga. Entonces sirva mi batanga y sirva mi batanga, empezaron a decir, así le dio como broma y se quedó ahora.
Muy bueno. Le ponen limón, tequila y Coca-Cola.
Sal de mar, tequila. De tequila va a la mitad del vaso y va con Coca-Cola.
What's up, Walmart Pharmacy?
Vamos a probar entonces el trago que lo vamos a probar gracias a ti, porque nos convenciste. Vamos a probar. Primero las damas, después los caballos.
Tengo algo con el sal.
La sal no es tu favorito.
No sé si el trago tiene sal o solo el borde.
Solo el
Okay, I'm using my other cell phone today. I'm using my
Pero
A31, the Samsung, the old Samsung phone, A31. Let me see how it looks.
Me encantó. ¿Saben qué? La sal le corta algo al sabor y lo deja como... Por eso te hace pegarte. Porque no lo sentís. No lo sentís y esto te baja como agua. Esto es el desmadre, güey. Esto es el desmadre. Pero ¿saben qué? Se nos está haciendo tarde para el tour.
Eso es muy auténtico.
Sí. Bueno, ahora sí vamos a iniciar el tour en la confraría, una destilería de tequila, donde vamos a conocer todo el proceso. Y al final del tour dijeron que nos van a dar 10 shots de tequila. De cada tipo. ¿Eran 10? Ah, eran 3 a cada uno. Pensé que eran 10 por persona. Bueno, vamos a ver qué tal. Claro, yo tampoco. El tour nos costó más o menos $22 por persona. Dura como 1 hora y te explican todo y te muestran todo el proceso. Acá ya estamos dentro de la destilería, es bastante grande y también tiene como un hotel para hospedarse. Un montón de patos. Ya nos perdimos en el parque del tour porque llegamos atrasados. Hay demasiado tránsito acá. ¿Ya empezó de acá la señora? Acá tenemos las plantas de agave, hay de varias edades acá, lo que bien está explicando es que plantas entre 6 y 9 años son muy resistentes al calor, que los después de los extremos. Qué desmadre, puede pesar entre 20 y 90 kilos, una locura.
Y toda la colección es artesanal, no hay máquinas. Entonces sigue gente recolectándolos, es un trabajo pesado, en el sol.
Y lo que está abajo, que es lo que realmente hace la tequila, que se llama, que es la piña,
Claro,
porque se parece como una piña
esto es
realmente.
lo que comemos.
Y es muy puntiagudo, por eso cuando hay que colectarlo hay que tener mucho cuidado. Y las personas que hacen ese trabajo trabajan como de 7 a la 1 de la tarde, hace un calor terrible, es un trabajo muy difícil, la verdad.
Les llaman gimadores porque lo que nos platicaban pues es que ellos con tanto esfuerzo que hacen al final terminan como gimiendo y por eso tienen el nombre de
That's hard
gimador,
work working in the
tanto
fields of
esfuerzo que
tequila.
hacen al momento de sacarlo.
Y acá pueden ver, hay de varias edades, algunos deberán tener 3, 4 años, otros ya tienen 9 que están listos para que los cosechen. Pero vamos a hacer porque la guía se nos fue. Vamos, chicas. Hay una cantidad acá.
Yeah, horseback, yeah.
La sombra, pero no importa porque la planta es súper resistente. Miren ese gigante. Sí.
Entonces los reciben crecen más de lo que es 80.
Ahí están las calderas que cocinan las piñas del agave a vapor. Esos dos son 2 tanques que tienen combustible que generan el vapor que van a cocinar las piñas. Entonces esta es, digamos, la segunda parte del proceso para el cocinamiento del agave. Fíjense que acá
Listening to
tenemos
this
dos
Argentinian couple. Actually, she's from
para
Estonia,
el cocinamiento del agave, que es el proceso que
and they're
vamos a ver ahora.
visiting Tequila
La verdad que es
Jalisco,
bastante diferente de lo que me imaginaba, cómo se
the same state where
cocina y se produce el
Nirvana
tequila.
was.
Nada que ver
It's a
con el
very
vino, por
touristic
ejemplo.
place.
Nosotros ya hemos ido
Touristic
a conocer una
place.
fábrica de vino, pero nada que ver, ¿no es cierto?
That's where they make the tequila. See, can I squeeze behind this guy? I think so.
Acá están viendo acá son los hornos donde cocinan las piñas. La verdad que es una
Sí.
locura. Miren el tamaño de estos hornos, lo que es. Acá meten toneladas de piñas de agave para cocinarlo. Lo que hacen básicamente es que el vapor entra adentro, ponen las piñas manualmente, es como que se deshidrata, larga el jugo que cae por esas ranuras ahí abajo. El tubo sigue con unos tubos que lo siguen
Actually,
trabajando.
that'd be a
Y
good
la
place to park
piña
right there,
solo acá
huh?
larga el 20% de su jugo. Y el 80% restante lo van a seguir moliendo, cocinando para sacárselo. Pero lo que más nos llamó la atención es el tamaño de estos hornos, lo que es impresionante realmente. Mira, el señorito se puso ahí para que tengan una idea. Una locura, y hacen todo manual. Imagínense meter toneladas de piña ahí adentro todo a mano, todo el tiempo. Esa gente lo que aguanta es una locura, ¿no?
Muchísimo, son 5 hornos en total, a lo que nos decían.
Sí.
Sí, duran como 48 horas.
Son 40 horas que las piñas, 48 horas que las piñas están ahí adentro haciendo la cocción. Mirá por dónde vienen las piñas siguen todo el camino y acá al lado están todos los tanques de fermentación, donde supuestamente saldrá el tequila. Esto para fermentar, ¿no es cierto? Sí. Fermentación.
Maybe I should change the TTS to $1.
Acá la guía nos está explicando que cuando llega digamos, alcohol etílico, que es el que realmente nosotros consumimos, y colas, digamos que es como el alcohol que no está todavía debidamente procesado y que si lo llegamos a consumir puede causarnos cegueras o problemas en el organismo. No sé si ustedes se acuerdan, pero hay lugares, yo me acuerdo de países que venden alcohol falsificado y me acuerdo de personas que contaban que quedaban ciegas o tenían problemas justamente por esto, porque no fue debidamente procesado. Por eso nunca hay que comprar alcohol falsificado, jamás.
Hasta en Estonia había una tragedia que alguien metió y como 40 personas quedaron ciegos, murieron.
¿Viste? Y eso
They
justamente
turned
por
blind
esto
and they
mismo, por
died,
esta
huh?
diferencia de estos dos alcoholes. Bueno, vamos arriba ahora porque viene la mejor parte del tour, la degustación, que es la parte que más le gusta a la Pau.
El desmadre, claro que sí.
La Pau vino para el desmadre.
Yo
¿no?
solo vine a eso, a traerlos, que conozcan, pero a tomar sobre
desmadrarse.
todo.
Muy bien, les voy a dar una degustación, les voy a servir un poquito porque está muy fuerte.
¿Esto sería, usted dijo que un alcohol puro?
Sí. Le llaman directo al alambique o tequila virgen, porque todavía le falta otro proceso, una modificación de la graduación.
Ok. ¿40% está esto de alcohol?
Sí, pues así.
Un sorbito cortito nomás.
Entonces, hacen un enjuague bucal, contienen su...
Como un vino, ¿no?
Así es.
Más o menos.
Exactamente de esa forma. Un poquito nada más.
Oh.
Después de pasar, exhalan despacio por su boca.
¿Así?
Cuando exhalan, sale el alcohol. Por dentro de un ratito lo toman rápidamente. Toma
Parece chile picante para enchilarse.
Pero que lo toman shot, no los muy fuerte por tomarlo muy rápido.
¿Tomaste todo?
Entonces, como dicen,
quiero.
no puedo.
Es realmente fuertísimo.
Rico.
¿Se vende alguna botella de virgen o eso no es comercial?
Pues hay un tequila directo del alambique llamado así, de Laguna, que es una marca de tequila.
Y lo venden virgen y hay gente que lo consume.
Así es.
Wow. Miren la cantidad de botellas de tequila que hay acá. Una locura. Estos son tequilas que ya no se producen más, pero lo fueron dejando acá como museo, como exposición, para que vean la variedad que hacía esta familia, que viene haciendo tequila por muchísimos años, un tequila de altísima calidad. Ahí está la herramienta que utilizan para sacar la piña del agave. A ver, levanta, Lizana, ¿es pesada? ¿No?
Yo tenía fuerza para agarrarlo y ahora estaba chileando.
No es pesado, pero trabajar con eso 8 horas al día. Ah.
Si lo observan, está cortando las hojas, está con un sol muy potente y cómo agarra la herramienta, la agarra con las manos contrarias. Hay personas que ni siquiera saben tomar la herramienta.
Hay una técnica.
Y la agarran como que si fuera un palo de escoba, como si estuviera nada peligroso y si se distrae el gimador se puede cortar alguna extremidad de los dedos atrás.
Acá entramos dentro de la cava. Miren la cantidad de litros de tequila que hay acá adentro, una locura. Esto creo que es una estatua de Pancho Villa, como pueden ver, de sombrero, con su tequila ahí, su arma. Ahí está Lizanita, la Pau. Fíjense qué locura, y hay un olor muy peculiar acá, como si fuera una sauna, olor a sauna ahí. Pero me dijo que es el olor del roble blanco, que es lo que hacen estas barricas, que es donde depositan todo el tequila y lo guardan para envejecerlo y que vaya agarrando el aroma, los colores, las notas,
Las
como nos
notas.
enseñaron, ¿no?
Che, las notas.
Ahora en un
Así
ratito
hablan
vamos a
los
degustar 3 tipos de
argentinos.
tequila y vamos a ver qué tal.
En ese
Miren a
acento.
dónde estamos ahora,
Hay a todos tienen tequila.
Súper sofisticado.
Ya está todo preparado, inclusive hay una hoja hecha en el Excel, miren, todo con la descripción, cómo está hecho, todo re profesional la cosa.
Tenemos 3 copas de blanco reposado de añejo. Esta no es la copa indicada para el tequila, ya que la copa parecida de champán larga de la copa largo del talle está especialmente diseñada para apreciar las características organolépticas como color, sabor y textura. Vamos a destapar la de blanco, vamos a comenzar de izquierda a derecha.
De izquierda a derecha.
Hacemos un movimiento a su copa.
Tipo como el vino.
Así es.
Ahí. Solo por
Ahí.
inclinarlo siento más fuerte el alcohol.
Sí. En la parte media de la
¡Oh! Pero mirá, solo por inclinar el vaso.
Sí, nos empuja el olor.
Empuja el olor. Y si hacemos en la parte del medio un aroma más suave. Ujú. ¿Verdad? ¿Lo degustamos ahora?
Degústenlo y después de que aprecien su sabor, van a tomar agua y van a tomar agua.
Suave. Rico. Tiene anís.
Así es.
Tiene...
Has anís, ¿no?
¿Tiene alcohol? Ah, fue
Fuego, tío.
depositado en una barrica de roble blanco.
Yeah, I'm dashing Walmart Pharmacy.
¿Tiene notas de frutos del bosque? No, mentira, no tiene.
Cítricos.
¿Tiene cítricos?
Sí.
Ah, ¿tiene también? ¿Tiene defecación de pato? ¿También? Me gustó. Rico, riquísimo. ¿Le gustó?
Me encantó, mucho, muy rico.
Muy fuerte.
Muy fuerte. Este sería ya más caro, de más calidad, digamos, ¿no? Reposado.
Claro, porque tiene más tiempo en barrica, entre más tiempo pasa en barrica, menos producto sale, eso los vuelve más caros.
Más espeso,
Porque
es
la
verdad.
barrica le da una textura aceitosita, grasosita,
Sí.
entre más tiempo pasa, más aceitoso se ve.
Tiene más cuerpo.
Así es.
Mucha vainilla le siento a este. Ay, güey. Este está fuerte.
Ay, güey.
¿Tiene más masita, señora?
¿Tú lo sentiste más suave?
Para mí ya son todos iguales, güey.
Ahora vamos al añejo. Este sería el más viejo.
Sí, el más viejo.
El-
Los tres que tenemos.
Y el más caro.
Así es.
A mí me gustan los viejos.
Es verdad, porque tenemos 14 años de diferencia de edad con Lizana.
Pero
A mí también me gustan los viejos.
A las dos. Porque ella también tenía un ex que tenía 20 años.
Eso va a salir.
Pero es la verdad. La verdad hay que contar las
Me
cosas.
gustan más grandes, sí, 9 y salía con uno de 44, entonces...
¿Viste?
me
¿Y eras
gusta más.
feliz?
Y soy-
¿Eras feliz?
¿Era feliz?
¿En la relación?
Sí,
¿Eras feliz
era
con un
muy
hombre más
feliz,
viejo?
sí.
¿Viste? Se puede
Sí,
ser
se
feliz.
puede ser feliz.
It
Salud por
happens with an
eso.
older
Salud
man.
por eso.
pero
Eso tenía.
es el más rico.
¿El más rico?
Es el menos fuerte.
Yo creo que los viejos somos los más ricos. Salud.
Salud.
Funny.
Wow.
Sí.
Honestamente, este es el más rico de todos.
Ahora vinimos al desmadre. Nos
¿Sí?
traje a los cantaritos del güero.
¿Qué es eso?
Pues son unos cantaritos, son como unos vasitos de barro, donde
pero
va, es lo más famoso de tequila, entre comillas, viene con tequila, juguito como de toronja,
Bueno.
muy rico, vamos a probarlo,
Vamos.
no les cuento más.
Vamos a ver qué es lo que hay acá, a ver. ¿Qué es lo que hay acá? Vamos a ver. Ah, bueno, dale, dale. Ah, pero acá hay terrible fiesta hay acá, ¿eh? Mirá la fiesta que hay acá. ¡Wow! Acá está el verdadero desmadre, ¿eh? Mirá
Madre.
lo que es esto.
Dice desmadre.
Creo que acá es la fiesta de verdad, ¿no?
Claro, aquí se viene a tomar, a bailar, a cantar.
Pero ¿saben quién fue el que dijo que teníamos que venir acá? El Aldo.
Sí, yo soy el culpable.
Aldo dijo, acá tienen que venir, si no, no vinieron a Tequila, ¿no es cierto, Aldo?
es correcto.
Así
Aldo
fue
es
la
el
cosa.
responsable de estar aquí.
De verdad. Bueno, dale, vamos. Vamos a curiosear qué hay acá, a ver. Dicen que acá está la joda de verdad. Me parece que todo el mundo que sale allá de Tequila se viene directamente para acá y vienen con unos carrones gigantescos. Mirá, no sé si toman tequila. ¿Qué tiene tequila ahí adentro? Tiene tequila, ¿no?
Tequila, claro.
Pero vos te imaginás tomar... No.
Una sensación.
¡Wow! ¿Esta es la sensación de México?
Exacto, o sea, ahorita tequila. Ahorita lo van a ver y les va a encantar.
¿Tenemos que tomar uno o no?
Uno, sí.
¿Hay para comer también?
Hay que probarlo. Sí, hay comida adentro, taquitos.
Bueno, vamos por unos taquitos primero porque si no me voy a desmayar.
Vamos a comer primero.
No, miren la cantidad de gente que hay.
No, it's pretty busy there.
¡Wow!
Wow.
Eso me acordaba que estaba aquí.
Ah, tacas en la tequila, mirá. ¿Cómo?
Hay que hacer fila para poder comprar un
¿Y
cantarito.
para comer?
¿También?
También. ¿Qué es eso? ¿Qué es esa?
Cantarito.
¿Puedes mostrar?
Sí, sí, claro, claro.
¿Puedo ver esto? Este es el cantarito, el famoso cantarito.
Sí,
¿Pero qué es? ¿Un vaso de tequila?
es un tequila que tiene tequila.
Una mezcla ahí. Y lo van sirviendo en cada vaso. Ah, yo pensé que lo tomaban directamente terminar el video?
Sí, sí, sí.
No se siente fuerte.
A ver, tómale otra vez. ¿Cómo lo sientes? Pero tómale bien.
¡Qué rico! Es como un jugo.
A ver,
Probale, Sana.
Like a juice, huh?
No se siente fuerte.
Interesting.
Pero debe engañar eso.
¿Pero te gustó? Sí.
It'll get you lit quick.
Tiene tequila, tiene limón, toronja, tiene un poco de todo.
Exacto.
No se siente el alcohol. El problema debe ser después que lo tomás y no lo sentís. Cuando te pega,
Lo rico. Lo rico.
lo rico.
You
¿A qué le llaman lo
get
rico?
drunk quick and slam on the
Pero
floor.
bueno, che, un brindis. Muchas gracias. Gracias, che. Esto es realmente una locura, no acaba más. Acá hay otra banda.
Escuché a un mexicano diciendo, está hasta la madre.
Está hasta la madre.
¿Dijo?
esto.
¿En serio?
Está horriblemente lleno.
¡Sí, una locura!
Es una locura.
¡Qué grande! No, es literal un balde. Mirá lo grande que es. No, pero miren lo que es esto.
Una locura.
Te juro por Dios, yo nunca vi tanta gente en toda mi vida.
En una fiesta.
No, Sana, esto es, pero debe haber 10.000 personas acá, 20.000, no sé.
Está llenísimo.
Y no se paga entrada, ¿eh? Todo el mundo está tomando de ese balde gigante. ¿eh? ¿Ven ahí?
Es un cantarito.
Un cantarito.
Ajá.
Y toman de ahí, eso es la traición.
Sí, o sea, puedes tomar de ahí como pote o puedes tener tus cantaritos chiquitos y
Claro.
tomar de ahí.
No, qué increíble. Sana está impactada, ¿no? Me imagino. Sí, muy buena la vibra. Acá dejaría la cámara y me vendría de fiesta. Y me vengo a empedar. A empedarme y a disfrutar. ¿Y ahí qué hay allá, para allá? Hay más cosas. ¡Qué bueno! ¡Increíble!
Are you there?
Genial. Bueno, mi gente, ya volvimos de tequila, ya se pasó un día. Hoy nos despertamos medio después de tanta tequilita y tanto desmadre. Hoy vamos a ver algo muy increíble acá de México. Tuvimos la suerte de llegar en fechas patrias y hoy es el día del grito, que sería el día de la independencia de México. Y le dicen
September, wow.
así porque se reúnen todos en una plaza para dar un gran grito a la independencia, que es el día 16 de septiembre. Pero hoy es día 15 y es la celebración. Y a las 8 de la noche, acá en Guadalajara, digamos que el gobernador, que es digamos la figura política más importante, va a ir a la plaza para, bueno, va a haber un acto, va a haber música, fiesta, etcétera,
y a las 8 en punto van a dar un primer grito. Y parece que a la medianoche van a dar otro, que es cuando realmente se cumpliría la medianoche y 01 del día 16 de septiembre, que es la independencia de México. Y acá que están viendo, estamos en pleno centro. La verdad es que no pudimos filmar mucho de la ciudad de Guadalajara porque es tan grande y tiene tanto para hacer esta ciudad que tendríamos que hacer 2 o 3 videos por lo menos para poder mostrarles todo lo que tiene, porque la ciudad es realmente impresionante.
Súper bonito el centro, ahora vamos para allá. Va a haber mucha gente, así que...
Sí. Como pueden ver acá, ya se está juntando la gente, empiezan a venir los vendedores, ambulantes, empieza, a llegar gente de todos lados. Imagínense lo que es la Ciudad de México hoy también, que también va a festejar el grito. Miren, acá es el subte y empieza a llegar la gente del metro. Así que vamos a ir caminando ahora hasta lo que sería la plaza central, donde está la catedral, para ver si podemos ver ahí el gran grito, que la verdad va a ser la primera vez que nosotros vamos a tener la oportunidad de ver una celebración así y en México. ¿No es cierto, mi amor? Acá pasamos un chequeo de seguridad, que miran si tenés navaja o encendedores, es lo que siempre preguntan. Y acá estamos entrando ya a la parte donde va a ser el evento. Miren qué impresionante. Me encantan estos autitos de policía que son eléctricos.
Es un desmadre.
Es realmente un desmadre esto. Miren qué locura. Va a haber muchísima gente hoy acá que va a venir a ver esta celebración. Y hay una cantidad enorme de puestos también de comida. Hay para comprar banderas, cositas con los colores de México. Está para comprar las espadas de Star Wars, Lisana. Lisanita quiere una espadita. Ay, pobrecita.
No se puede ni caminar.
No. Está muy lleno.
Un sombrero así quiero.
Ay, sí. Esos son los más lindos. Miren allá las banderas de México flameando. De todo para vender acá. Miren, lo que están viendo ahí es la Catedral de Guadalajara y la ven toda así como pintada. En realidad no es pintada, es que tiene un proyector que va pasando todas imágenes sobre la catedral y va contando la historia. Nosotros con Lisana ayer, no ayer, sino hace 2 o 3 días atrás, vinimos a comer acá cerca y pudimos ver toda la presentación que hacen, es increíble.
Hicieron un show.
Es como un show, exacto.
Y también esa casa tiene los colores.
Ah, ¿esa también?
Todo, el puente, todo.
Todo agarra colores.
Los árboles también están verdes.
Y le ponen música, el proyector queda ahí arriba y pinta toda la catedral, queda un espectáculo. Y esa catedral, aunque ustedes digan, wow, es gigantesca, qué cosa increíble, hay una más grande todavía que es una basílica, que queda un poco más lejos, que no la pudimos ir a ver todavía, pero que es 5 veces más grande que esa catedral. Pero creo que el grito no es acá.
No, el próximo.
Vamos entonces, mi amor.
¡Viva! ¡Viva! National anthem of Mexico. They don't get the cartels out of there. Very good, very good, very good. Is Jordan Peterson okay? What's going on with the guy? What sport awards a yellow jersey? I don't know. Cycling? I guess that was the right guess. So I guess it's cycling that rewards the yellow jersey. Who built the Great Pyramids of Giza? Secret Alchemist Society, Egyptians, 2550 BC, aliens. We'll go with the Egyptians. So, most people put down aliens. Wow, that's interesting. Huh. Created. Living in Korea is hell. Assyria, the first empire of evil. This is on my recommended video watching list. I've been watching a lot of videos about the medieval times and how life was. People had a hell of a time surviving. That's why the longevity was not very long. It was, I think, 30 years. Average 30 to 34 years. 6 things foreigners do Mexicans don't like. Let me see what she wrote.
Quite a lot over the last 3 years. We've been traveling to mountain cities as well as beautiful places by the ocean. So we really feel we've gotten to know the country very well and its people. With that said, what we see is consistently friendly and happy people. It's no wonder that the UN-backed report that was done this year actually has Mexico ranked as the 10th happiest country in the world. Just to give some perspective, Canada ranks at 18th and the United States at 25th. And while reports like this aren't something you can take to the bank, they do make you realize, especially when you've been in a country and you've seen the people actually pretty happy on a daily basis, there might be some validity to a report like that. And while Mexicans are happy people, there are a few things that do kind of get under their skin. In this video, we're going to explore 6 things that annoy Mexicans. It's things that, quite honestly, I've done myself. So hopefully, if you've got a chance to listen to these, they won't be things that you commit when you come here to this country. We're going to start with number 1, which is, and this was a one I've committed, believe me, Mexicans do not like us calling ourselves Americans. They feel when we do that, it diminishes all the rest of the people that live within the continent of America. When they go to school, they are taught that America is literally South America, Central America, North America. So Canada, the United States, Mexico, Honduras, on and on and on, are all part of America. And in which case, we could all be Americans. Their preference is that we call ourselves people from the United States. And believe me, I have had hundreds of comments about this from Mexican people. So it's something to be aware of in the future, that it's probably not a bad thing to say, hey, I'm from the United States, not I'm an American. I know it's hard to undo things that we learned in our childhood and Pledge of Allegiance and things of that nature. But to not be offensive, it's best if you can use
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America.
Not I'm from America. Okay, we have number 2 thing, and that's saying Mexico is cheap. It's very offensive to Mexican people when they hear folks from other countries, be it Europe, Canada, the United States, say, oh, it's so cheap here, because they are very hardworking people and they're suffering inflation just like all the other countries in the world are suffering inflation right now. With that said, they're having to pay the same amount you and I would have to pay for groceries and things of that nature. So it's not cheap for them. It becomes a little less expensive for us because we can use geo arbitrage, which is either the price of our dollar is higher or we've earned money somewhere else and we're spending it in their country. This is really important to keep in mind as you go shopping and you're talking to folks that are selling you items during the day in Mexico. One of the things that can be the most annoying to the Mexican people is when you haggle over a price of something that they're trying to sell you. And while maybe 40 years ago, this was something that everyone was told, oh, you've got to bargain with people in Mexico because they'll start high and then they'll come down in price. That is no longer the case today. In fact, I've noticed that most things that are being sold are a very fair price right from the start. And in many shops, they'll actually say, please do not offer us a bargaining or anything of that nature. We don't bargain. The price is the price. It's even worse when you look at things that are made by artisans, because they have amazing artisans in this country. And when you're haggling with an artisan over something that's taken them literally hours to make, and you're trying to get them to lower their price, I'm sure many things that are made in Mexico.
Oh, what the heck?
Dollars. And so it's probably one of the worst things that you can do is to haggle on prices. We were out the other day and there was a guy that said, if I buy one, why don't you throw one in for free, to this girl who made necklaces and bracelets. That's just really not a cool thing to do. So where in the past haggling and bargaining might have been part of the culture, it is not anymore. Okay, number 4, and that's getting rid of all of the media stereotypes. I know so many of us have a stereotypical picture in our head of a man with a huge handlebar mustache and a big sombrero. Or we have that image that, you know, all Mexicans are dark skin, brown eyes, and black hair. And that's simply not the case. Mexico is comprised of 127 million people. And through the centuries, they've had a lot of different immigration. Back in 1521 to 1821, they actually took in loads of Jews that were being persecuted in Europe. Now, at that time, many of the Jewish people had to become Catholic, but then reverted back to their own religion. And this is after kind of all of the inquisitions and everything in Europe. But to this day, there are literally millions of Jewish people that live in Mexico. Yeah, and I have a map here, and what you're going to see on the map is the highest concentration is Mexico City. So they're very, very diverse.
A few people.
You'll also see a lot of Mexican people that have very Asian features. And that's because in 1876, a lot of Chinese people came to Mexico to work in the fields and stay. And so you've got a lot of parts of Mexico that have folks that have higher cheekbones and maybe more Asian style eyes. Then you've got folks that have blonde hair and light colored skin, and that's because a lot of Irish people came to Mexico during the potato famine and stayed. So Mexico is very diverse in what people look like. It's far from the stereotypes that you see in these different periodicals and things of that nature. Along with the stereotypes on how people look, I have noticed that there's also stereotypes on that Mexicans are more, field workers and, do handiworks and artisans and things of that nature, which again is not true. They have over 200,000 software engineers and designers in the country, and every year they have over 130,000 people that graduate from their universities with engineering degrees. This is a very advanced culture when it comes to education. And so we all need to kind of look at the culture and the people in a much different way. And believe me, I can understand why they might feel frustrated if we don't do that. Okay, we're at number 5, and that is assuming that most Mexicans speak English. And that's something that really bothers them. They're incredibly polite people, so they will try their hardest to understand you. However, part of their culture in being polite is that they
don't speak English.
Day. They'll say good morning, good evening. They thank each other for transactions that they do, and it's a charming way that they say you're welcome. They say de nada, which is for nothing. And so it's a very, very polite culture.
Now this homeless encampment that's right in front of me used to be in front of my apartment, but they obviously moved over here. They relocated.
You can learn some Spanish
Which is
phrases.
interesting.
And it doesn't have to be a lot. Like I said, just basic
They're
greetings.
just laying down there. They're alcoholics, so they some would drink alcohol.
And you don't return the
We got the
greeting,
choppers out
they do
today.
take
What's
that
going on?
as so best to
I
learn
know
as much
there's
as you
hard
can,
concrete sidewalk.
so that you don't have to worry about offending anybody, and you would really enjoy it when you start speaking that language. Here we are at number 6, and that's expecting Mexicans to adapt to our culture when we're in their country. I have said this before, Mexicans love to party. I think these people are amazing. They will celebrate anything. They love celebrating
Party.
holidays. They will celebrate any kind of a holiday, and not in a small way. I mean, we're talking parades and fireworks and everything like that. And because of it, their culture can be quite noisy. It is not unusual for people to party way into the evening and possibly the next morning with music, conversation. They're very happy people in that regard, and that's probably why they rank so high on the world happiness. Do not expect things to be quiet if that's what you like. Not expect for people to not try to interact with you and talk to you. Not expect a ton of music and noise. They're very interactive people. That's a huge part of their society.
Keep.
After 7 weeks in the top 10, Michael McDonald falls from number 9 to number 25 with I Keep Forgetting. This is Casey Kasem on American Top 40 in Hollywood. Now, let's answer that question about artists remaking their own hits. Comes to us from Tanya Perrin in Perry, Kentucky. Now, she wants to know if any recording artist has ever had a #1 song, then re-recorded that song. Not just re-released it, but re-recorded it and had that remake hit the chart. Well, Tanya, 5 recording artists have done that. First, there's pianist Roger Williams. In 1955, he hit #1 with Autumn Leaves. Then, a decade later, he re-recorded it, and that 1965 remake got to number 92 on Billboard's Hot 100. Then there's Perez Prado. In 1958, he hit #1 with Patricia. Tune, that remake hit number 65. In 1959, Frankie Avalon hit #1 with Venus. And in 1976, re-recorded it disco style, and it hit number 46. Next, there's Bobby Gentry. In 1967, she hit #1 with Ode to Billy Joe. In 1976, her remake of that song hit number 65. Finally, there's the only recording artist to ever hit #1 and hit the top 40 with a remake of the same song. In 1962, this man hit #1, and in 1976, he not only hit the top 40 with a remake of the same song, but took it all the way up to #8. The song is called Breaking Up is Hard to Do. The artist? Neil Sedaka. So there's your answer, Tanya. There are 5 artists who've charted with remakes of their own #1 songs. Roger Williams, Bobby Gentry, Perez Prado, Frankie Avalon, and the only one who hit the top 40 with his remake, Neil Sedaka. Thanks for your letter. Now on with the countdown.
Number 24.
With the follow-up to their #1 smash, Hard to Say I'm Sorry, here's Chicago at number 24 with Love Me Tomorrow.
She said it's lonely here tonight. She's always sad when she's alone. She said I need you here tonight.
16. The song at number 24, moving up a couple of notches this week, is Love Me Tomorrow by the group Chicago. 23 big hits to number 1, and we're counting them down.
The American woman has a look all her own. Out in the crowd or just being alone. The thing that's right, seen her cheeks with the American way of life. She knows she wants comfortable clothes and let her be free wherever she goes. See that jeans, feel so right. See that jeans with the American way of life. See that jeans, feel so right. See that jeans with the American way of life.
You know, I don't normally go around chatting about feminine protection any more than you do. But finding the right full-size protection is important, and maybe I can help.
Kathy Rigby for Stay Free Maxi Pads.
Personally, I choose Stay Free Maxi Pads for comfort without compromise. They have a comfortable size and shape, and they stay comfortably in place. When you get all that comfort without giving up full-size protection, that's comfort without compromise. That's Stay Free Maxi Pads.
American Top 40.
I'm Casey Kasem. Here's one of those bands made up of just 2 members, plus session musicians. They started out with 3, but Dan Peake left. Now it's Jerry Begley and Dewey Fennell. The group America at number 23 with You Can Do Magic.
I couldn't see myself, I can't feel it. And how could it be? No magic happened to me. And then I saw you, I couldn't believe it. You took my heart, I couldn't retrieve it. Said to myself, what's it all about? Now I know there could be no doubt. You can do magic. You can have anything that you desire. Magic. And you know you're the one who can put out the fire. You know darn well when you cast your spell, you get your way. When you hypnotize with your eyes, the heart of stone can turn to clay. Speaking upon the window pane, and when the night gets so cold, when I can't sleep, again you come to me. I hold you tight, the rain disappears. Who would believe it? With a word you dry my tears. You can do magic. You can have anything that you desire. Magic. And you know you're the one who can put out the fire. You know darn well when you cast your spell, you get your way. When you hypnotize with your eyes, the heart of stone can turn to clay. And if I wanted to, I could never be free. I never believed it was real to me. You can do magic. You can have anything that you desire. Magic. And you know you're the one who can put out the fire. You know darn well when you cast your spell, you get your way. When you hypnotize with your eyes, the heart of stone can turn to clay.
Number 8, America falls to number 23 in the countdown with You Can Do Magic. You've probably heard that record companies don't love it when radio stations play a whole album all at once. They figure that people will be tempted to tape it off the air instead of buying the record. Well, coming up is a song from the album that figures in the latest round of that controversy.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
With the cost of the college I want to go to, a part-time job won't make a dent. What am I going to do?
Work your way through college before you go to college by joining the Army. With the new Army College Fund, you can accumulate up to $15,200 for college in 2 years, up to $20,100 in 3. Ask your recruiter about the Army College Fund.
'Cause we need you in the Army.
Paid for by the U.S. Army.
Capture the delight of MCS.
Oh man, what happened, man?
JCPenney. Now on sale, the MCS 35-watt system. 35-watt receiver with LED wattage meter and digital frequency reader. Cassette deck, all just $549.80. You save $300. MCS stereo for the senses. Only at participating JCPenney stores.
Top 40.
We've got 22 big hits to go to the #1 song in the land, and we're counting them down.
What's up, dude, with the choppers, man? What's going on? What's going on here? Some police activity or something. Super Trap. Wow, I haven't heard this song in a while. Where the hell was Cameron over there? They're hanging out here. Da 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 da.
of controversy. One radio station refuses to play any cuts from the new Pat Benatar album because they don't want the record company telling them what to play. Other stations questioned the company's right to restrict airplay, while some stations agreed with Chrysalis's attempt to limit home taping. It's obviously caused a lot of controversy and may cause a lot more before it's finally resolved. And we'll keep you up to date on how it all develops. Meanwhile, from the LP at the center of this storm, here's Pat Benatar at number 21 with Shadows of the Night.
We're running with the shadows of the night. So baby, take my hand, it'll be alright. Surrender all your dreams to me tonight. They'll come true in the end.
good that you guys got the little light on the back of that. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Now, as we continue our countdown of the 40 biggest songs in the country, I'd like to welcome a new station to the American Top 40 family. It's KTYL in Tyler, Texas. Happy to have you with us. My name's Casey Kasem, and we're doing our weekly survey of the most popular records in the USA. On we go.
Number 20.
The keyboard man from Long Island, New York, climbs 2 notches this week. It's his 16th top
Billy
40
Joel.
hit. Pressure. Billy Joel.
hyperactivity. It's crazy. When it gets 7 o'clock, we'll have to check it out, see what's going on. See if we can listen to some YouTube, man.
Mexico has modern urban centers like Mexico City, Monterrey, Guadalajara, just to name 5. Media often shows dusty villages with adobe homes, ignoring that Mexico cliches and stereotypes about Mexicans often reduce the complexity and diversity of Mexico's people, culture, and traditions into oversimplified, inaccurate, or even harmful portrayals. When I first got to Mexico, I wanted to fit in, and I thought to myself, well, Mexican women don't wear shorts, so I'm not going to wear shorts either. Since then, almost immediately after that, I found out that Mexico has free women like other free countries in the world, and they wear whatever they want. And that includes a variety of clothing. Number 6 on my list of things foreigners do and say that could annoy Mexicans is when foreigners come to Mexico and say, oh, Mexico is so cheap. Well, this might seem like a neutral observation to some people. It can be a touchy subject when you're talking to someone who's making a lot less money in Mexico than you might have made somewhere else. The average monthly income in Mexico is significantly lower than in countries like the US or Canada, so calling it cheap can feel dismissive of the economic challenges many locals face. Mexicans often take great pride in their culture, traditions, and the quality of their products and services. Though you might not intend it, describing things as cheap might imply they are of low quality, which can be harmful. In some areas, especially tourist destinations, an influx of foreign residents or visitors seeking cheap living has driven up the cost of housing and other essentials for locals, leading to resentment in some cases. Many businesses in Mexico welcome foreigners and their money in Mexico, but some Mexicans are feeling resulting gentrification in their cities, such as the displacement of local communities and the creation of social and financial barriers for long-time residents. Like many other people, I'm trying to be a resident in Mexico without contributing to this problem. Foreigners should try to look for rental contracts in cities that charge the correct price rather than heavily inflated rates or Airbnbs. We can travel to non-gentrified cities and towns and support local businesses rather than stay in expat hubs. And if we're going to be spending a lot of time in the country, we can apply for residency so that if you're working, we can contribute and pay our share as tax-paying residents. I hear Mexico is so cheap as a meme on social media, depicting foreigners who are callous enough to keep going around saying that while the locals are struggling. So don't make yourself into a meme. Well, this has become my most bossy video to date, and I call myself the school marm when I try to tell people what to do. But I hope some of these tips can help you keep
really, really kind of cinematic music. The Philippines is what the U.S. was 50 years ago. Interesting. 73-year-old says that. Wow.
So this place is like, it reminds me of when I was growing up in the U.S. To turn the clock back 50 years, the Philippines and the U.S.
Alrighty, so before we get started here, I just want to ask, is it okay if I record this, edit this video, and upload it? Do I have your permission? Yeah. Alright, fantastic. Who am I here with today? Bob. And where are you from, Bob?
Originally from the U.S., but we'll say I'm born in New York, raised in California, and then Oregon, and Arizona.
How long you been in the Philippines, Bob?
2000.
Since 2000. Wow. So it's about 25 years. We're talking to someone with some experience here. Been in the Philippines a little while.
Right.
How old are you, Bob?
Well,
73.
74. Wow, that's great. I would have thought late 50s, for sure.
Yeah.
100%. So how would you say the culture differentiates here in the Philippines? What are some of the differences between life here and life in the U.S.?
Here you have to become patient.
Right.
Nothing happens quickly. I mean, everything you do here is a long, drawn-out process. It's hard because you want to think, why are they doing this on slow? But that's
slow in the Philippines, huh?
As far as the culture goes, Bob, how would you describe
Damn, man.
the Filipino
This is crazy,
people?
crazy,
Can you
man.
name some common characteristics that you find
freaking
amongst
slow,
them?
man.
no family
I feel like just going to get something to eat. I'm waiting.
One relative can kill somebody and they still say, but it's blood. It's blood, right? So, and they really stick close together. They go out of their way to help each other, right? And unlike a lot of foreigners,
Guy went to Taco Bell with his
Americans,
dog.
you know, I don't even win the neighbor. You know, unless he comes over and says hi.
Right, you can live next door to him for 25 years and you know nothing about him.
But here they know everything about you. They know, they want to ask you. So they'll walk right up to you and say, hi, are you married?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, how old are you? And how much money do you make? They're just curious about what you do. Why are you in my country?
Do you feel like they want something from you when they're curious, or are they more just genuinely interested?
Because you're being from the U.S., you're used to people hustling you. Here they're not. They're just curious.
They're just genuinely curious, right?
They're like curious. They really don't care. They don't ask you for money, but they want to know. They're amazed at what you do for a living, and they don't. How do you make money like that? How do so? How many kids do you have? What? 2. My God. What's wrong with you? Is there a problem?
Do you feel like there's anything in the Philippines that you don't have access to that you might otherwise have access to in the United States?
Quick driver's license. I mean, obviously in the U.S. you go there in 10 minutes you're out. Here you go to LTO and if you're 40 later, 2 fixes later.
But for the most part, would you say you have access to all the same amenities here?
Well, they have S&R here, so that's like Costco.
Like Costco.
And, they have everything here. It's just you have to pay a little extra. If you want to live like a foreigner in the Philippines, it's not cheaper.
It's not right. Right. So
because everything you buy here costs more here because you have to ship it from the U.S.
Right. I saw in Costco the prices for cereal can be quite extravagant for some Lucky Charms.
And what people don't understand is you go into S&R and you look and it'll say 800. Well, they mean pesos, not $8.
which is still big money for a box of cereal, in my opinion.
So it's double. Everything is double. So when I first went to the S&R, I said, what do they just leave the prices from the U.S. on and just use peso? Yeah. But I find I don't want to leave. You know, all the bullshit you go through here, I don't want to leave. I like it here.
So do you find yourself mostly eating in the Western style restaurants? Do you find yourself eating in carinderias? Do you find yourself going to the wet markets, where are you generally getting your food from, Bob?
You've been to the wet market? It's gonna be scary there. Right? Cafe Bob's. I go there all the time.
Okay.
Right? I was hard for me to adapt to the food. You know, I can eat some of the food. I still don't eat a lot of rice. Potatoes, yeah. Right. Potatoes expensive. They act like it's gold here.
Right.
But you just have to be patient here. I mean, when I'm driving now, it doesn't bother me that people be scooping in front of me. It used to bother me when I first got here. You know, they don't use a blinker. They stop in the middle of the street, put an emergency light on, and go have coffee, and just leave their car there in the middle of the street. You know, and actually, there's very few accidents here. And you don't see policemen out there. You know, if you want to see a policeman, you have to see somebody shot. Yeah. You never see the police. So everybody's self-governed themselves.
You never really see anyone get shot either, do you? Have you seen that in your 25 years here?
Only once in Cebu, and everybody was just looking at him. He was a jeepney driver or something. He pissed somebody off.
Oh.
But the police, one time we're living in Cebu, right? So we come home late from a yellow, and we hear noise upstairs. So I'm looking at my wife and I'm going, "You hear that, right?" She goes, "Yeah." She says, "I don't know what's going on." And then my daughter comes down, but we still hear the noise. So I said, "Something's, not right. Who's up there?" And of course she said, "Nobody." Right? So we're sitting there. So my wife says, "Well, I'm going to call the police." Call the police. 45 minutes later, we're still sitting there. I said, "We should just go upstairs and see what it is." No. We might get shot. Right? So finally, the police come. And they go upstairs, and there's some guy hiding under the bed. My daughter hid him under there. Because she's 17, so she hid this guy under the bed. The police said, "You're not supposed to be here, so we're going to give you a choice. Either you go to jail or you can let us spank you." He had this like little whip thing with him. And so he accepted the whipping, and he gives it to my wife and said, "Go ahead." And this kid bent over, and she wailed on him for about 10 minutes. Wow. So, he said it's a lot better than arresting him. You ruin his life. You won't get to go to school. But I said, "Wow, that's police."
Interesting. Interesting.
So we see another one. I'm sitting in a parking lot in Robinson. A jeepney comes flying through the parking lot and runs right into my brand new car. Boom. So the two guys get out and they run. The jeepney driver and the other guy run. So then I'm waiting for the police. First the guards come, and then the police comes, and it winds up the jeepney hadn't been registered for 9 years.
Wow.
It's 9 years. So, and then when they finally catch the guy, he's renting the jeepney from a family. They finally catch him, and he says it's the foreigner's fault. And so the policeman says, he's sitting in the, he's telling me what he's telling him. He says, "I told him you're sitting in the parking lot. You're not even at the car. You're almost to your car." And he says, "Well, he's a foreigner. If he wasn't here, then I would have never hit him."
Wow. Wow. And as far as cost of living goes, Bob, how much would you say?
Okay, so I just pulled it.
Your budget runs you every month.
Okay, so I just pulled the Atomic.
Mine?
Yeah, just yours. What would you say an average month spending is for you? Someone who,
I think you can live pretty decently for $2,000 a month.
$2,000 a month? And when you say live decently, does that include renting a nice place to live, going out to eat at some nice restaurants?
Just
What does that
not
include?
drinking.
Just not drinking, right?
You know what the problem? The guy comes here, and you see on TV all the time, "Oh, live like a king, $1,000 a month." That doesn't include girlfriend. And why does the guy come here in the first place? Most guys are coming here for a girlfriend, right? And as soon as you get a girlfriend, then you got the cell phone, and you got the load, and she wants to help her family, and the list goes on and on.
Speaking of girlfriends, as a Western man that you are, good looking I would say, do you feel like you get more attention from women here than you would, let's say, in the West?
Yeah, just the other day, a girl in the Cafe Bob's asked me if I was married.
Wow.
I looked grandpa's not even as old as me.
Would you say it's quite common or relatively common to see age gaps in dating here that range anywhere from 10, 20, 30, 40, even 50 years?
That's common. That's normal. You know what I think? I think the guys appreciate the fact that the girls like them, and the girls appreciate the fact that they got security. They're not really, they're just security. They have 3 meals a day. They have, you give a little help for the family, and
as long as it's a mutual agreement, they're happy. I personally don't see anything wrong with that.
I don't either. You know? And, you know, if you just get all they have to love you. What is love? You know, love is your best friend. Who's your best friend, right? You get along with a girl, right? So, where else are you going to find a girl 4 years younger than you?
And would you say that the women here, Bob, would you say that they're more open to traditional roles in a relationship, such as the woman cooks, the woman cleans, and
that's their ideal life, I think. They're not, American women are always looking for career, and the career comes first, the husband second, or maybe third, right, if they have no children. But here, I think the women, they want to raise the family, they want to stay home, they want someone that cares about them, you know. Yeah, they love the tradition. They like what the U.S. to me was like in the 50s and 60s. That's what they like. That's what this place is like. It reminds me of when I was growing up in the U.S. You know, to turn the clock back 50 years, the Philippines is the U.S. Everybody can go outside and they just play in the street. Red Rover, all these little games, but hide and seek. Now the kids don't do it. They go out with their cell phones and they just sit on the curb, and there'd be 5 of them, but none of them are looking at each other. They're all looking at their phone.
The world is changing. A different world. So Bob, just one more thing I want to touch on with you. Do you have any advice for any foreigner, Western men who might be watching this video and they themselves are thinking about life in the Philippines or life in the country?
That would be up here. You have to come here and don't get a girlfriend the first week you're here. That's the hardest part. And just hang out, because you know, I know a lot of guys, and the first girl they meet, they're with, and then they wish they weren't with her. Because usually the first girl is aggressive, the one that picks you. Guys are stupid. You know, they're so excited. Wow, this girl's pretty. She likes me. You need to spend at least a month or 2 just roaming around, not making a commitment. You make a commitment to a Filipino, you better follow
That's right. That's right. They're dating for marriage here, mostly.
If they give something, they're with you, they're serious about it. If you think it was just play, you're sorry. That's right. You're going to find out how many brothers she really has.
Now, Bob, I don't think we mentioned, but where are we right now? We're in McCollin City, right?
Right.
So do you have any recommendations? This will be the last question, Bob. Do you have any recommendations for someone coming to the Philippines, city, that you would recommend they check out first?
I've been to a lot of them. Now, Bacolor, to me, Cebu is nice, but getting too much like the U.S., too much, the traffic, just too much of a hassle. Bacolor is kind of like half province and half city. They have the malls, they have movies, they have
all the amenities, all the
movies. You know what a mall is? A mall is where you get free aircon. This is a mall. You can walk around there all day where it's really hot outside. This is a hard place to live if you're disabled. If you notice, no wheelchair ramps.
That's a good point.
But you'll find plenty of people to take care of you. I have a friend, he's in Vietnam, he's paralyzed the waist down. He's got a wife here. They're still together after 22 years. And she takes care of him.
So definitely a great place to come if you're a single guy and you can afford to stay for a while, or even if you can just only afford a quick visit. I think either way, it's a good place, great place to come
The bad
visit.
thing to do is to get on one of them websites and hook up with a girl, start sending money.
Yeah, don't do that.
When you finally get here, if you're lucky, if she shows up at the airport at all, and if she does, she's probably married already. And you can't blame them. You know, at first you're mad, but then you think you're surviving. And anybody that survived knows you do whatever you have to do to get up and go the next step.
Absolutely, understandably so.
You're surviving. They'll send you. When I met my wife, right? So for a whole year, we're talking online, and then it hit me. She doesn't speak English and doesn't write English, and I'm thinking, who's writing me? And she had hired somebody to write me, to represent her.
ChatGPT wasn't around then.
No, we were writing letters. It took forever. And at first I thought, 3 months, she hasn't said anything. Well, she said, you know how hard it is to buy a stamp? She says, it's not like for you foreigners, you know. We don't have a fat wallet. I make 200 pesos a day. You know, I can't pay 50 pesos for a stamp. We don't realize that there's people that, you know, they don't have any money. They don't have any money. So for her to write me a letter once a week was like a major financial burden of her.
The salary is definitely different here than it is. It's unique to the Philippines. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to touch on.
You know what I was going to tell you though? Is that so her brother is in the military, gives her a cell phone. One of them little touch, you know, the old-fashioned one with tape on it, right? So she's so mad at me because I'm not calling her. And I said, I am calling you, but you're not answering the phone. And then finally someone said, you have to plug it in and charge the battery. She didn't know. A month of waiting for me to call.
That's
she
crazy.
Never plugged it in. She stole their electric.
Never
Didn't
plugged
know
in the phone.
You have to go slow and understand
simplicity.
that what you take for granted, to them, it's like a whole new world.
Wow. Well, Bob, I really appreciate you sitting down with me today. And to the viewers, if you enjoyed this sit-down conversation with Bob, please like this video. Leave a comment saying, hey Bob, or let's go Bob. And please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more interviews and more content from the Philippines. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Until next time, peace.
Peace. Nice little short interview. There's a couple of this family right here. Let me get right here. I'll show you what I can do. There's people right here. Got all their stuff there, man. That's crazy. Almost in Canada. Delay I can see on the kick stream. That is on the YouTube stream. If there's a delay or not. What's up with these helicopters? What are they doing? Inside his car. Somebody's right there. probably tell them.
Today we're diving into some of Mexico's unwritten rules. Things that might not be immediately obvious, but could make a big difference when you're trying to blend in and avoid coming across as rude.
That's right. Whether you're visiting or planning to live here, understanding these subtleties can help you navigate everyday situations like a local.
First up, formalities. In Mexico, greetings are more than just a hey or a handshake. It's polite to greet people with a buenos dias, good morning, buenas tardes, good afternoon, or buenas noches, good evening. Even if you're simply passing a stranger on the street, not doing so can make you look rude.
Yeah, that happened to me, and I learned it the hard way. One time that I went to the supermarket, and I was looking for an item. I don't remember what it was. I went to the employee at the supermarket, and I said, "Excuse me, where can I find the item?" And he looked at me like, "Man, this guy is rude." And he said, first thing he said was, "Buenos dias. You can find the item in aisle whatever it was." But he was really bothered by the fact that I didn't start my conversation by saying buenos dias to him first.
Yeah, you'll find that if you're asking a question and you first greet them, buenos dias, buenas tardes, whatever it may be, you will get a big smile and they'll say it back to you, and then you ask where the certain item is or where you're trying to go, what you're trying to find. People would be much more receptive to you if you greet them politely. It's guaranteed.
Yeah.
For example, at the bank, I will see a foreigner standing in line and they get to the window and they just want what they want and they want it now. That's just not the way you do it here. You look them in the eye and you say, "Hi, good morning, how are you? Okay, I would like to make a deposit." And that really goes a long way.
It really
for
does.
people wanting to help you and be courteous back to you, I find. Otherwise, you just come across as rude.
And you'll get much better service that way too.
Also, for women or for friends, a light kiss on the cheek is common when greeting someone, even for the very first time. If you skip this, you might seem cold, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, you don't just go to a total stranger and give them a kiss on the cheek. But if you're being introduced to somebody, it's very normal to do the handshake or the slight hug and a kiss on the cheek.
Yeah, it's very customary, I think, in Mexico and all Latin American countries to do that. And I've noticed that growing up in Latin families, we grew up doing that with all of our aunts, uncles, friends of the family, and everyone. So to us, it was very natural, and that's what we did at home anyway. But I've noticed even with guests that arrive to the B&B, and we'll greet them and check them in, they'll put out their hand and give you a nice big handshake, but there's no hugging or kissing. And when we get national tourists, they will give you a hug and kiss, even if you're meeting them for the very first time. It's just the way we do it here.
Keep in mind, it's not a wet kiss on the cheek.
No.
It's kind of a side kiss.
It's like a side, cheek to cheek kind of a thing. Oh, so nice to meet you.
Hey, likewise.
Hi. Like that. Fast, easy. It's not a big wet kiss. You really don't touch lips to their cheek. You kind of just touch cheek to cheek.
When addressing someone in Mexico, it's common practice to speak to someone you've just met using a polite title such as señor for a man, señora for a married or older woman, and señorita for a young or single woman. When speaking with professionals, Mexicans almost always use the person's professional title, such as doctor, doctora for doctor, arquitecto, arquitecta for architect, ingeniero, ingeniera for engineer, and even licenciado or licenciada for somebody who has a college degree.
Yeah, they take the titles very seriously here. They go to school and they earn it, right? So you have to call them by their title. That's the polite way to do it. Saying gracias is very common in Mexico. For example, when exiting a bus, people will often thank the driver. Also, when you're leaving a store, you would typically turn back to the shopkeeper and say gracias, buen dia. Even if you were in there for just a minute or for a quick browse, like you walk into a store and you walk around and you didn't see anything you like, you still address the shopkeeper and you say, muchas gracias, bonito dia. And if you don't, you just look rude.
Yeah, you have to remember,
typical jerk.
Anywhere you are, at all times, you have to acknowledge the person around you, the people around you.
Yeah, and even in Mexico, probably all of Latin America, when you walk into a store and there'll be other people, and people will say hi to everyone in the store. You just say, buenas tardes, and then everybody will go, buenas tardes. People from the United States aren't so used to that, but it's just customary.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing this video. It's for you, so you can really come to Mexico and really blend in as a local.
My friend, how are you?
I find when I go back to San Francisco to visit my family that, for example, I'll get into an elevator and my gut instinct is to say, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. And I remember going home and doing that every once in a while, and people look at you like, you are weird. Like, why are you talking to me? I don't know who you are. It feels strange how not so friendly people can be.
Yeah. Yeah, this is actually a topic for another video that we could do about reverse culture shock. So when we go back to the States the next time, we'll really pay attention to those differences.
There is also an unwritten rule when it comes to sending messages. Texting is much more formal, don't you think?
What's up, Aaron? What are you doing?
Used to in the U.S.
In the States, it might be weeks.
Good. Are you hungry?
Communicated with somebody,
Are you hungry?
And then you might have a question for that person. And
You want to go with me? I have to pick up something at KFC.
Whereas in Mexico, you
or are you just going to go home?
Start with, hi, John.
Okay.
How are
I'll
you?
see you at
How
home.
have you been?
Bye.
How's your mother?
You don't have to ask him how's your mother.
Maybe not that
but
far.
You do have to say, hi, John. How are you? How have you been? Then you ask the question. That's how it is in Mexico. Even to the staff or to the accountant or whatever. I just want to ask a question. And you always have to say, hi, so-and-so. You always have to start with hello. Even it doesn't matter.
No, I just like listening to these videos because they have like,
you have to say, how are you? How
know,
have you been? Hopefully this
their
message
perception
Then you ask your question.
of Mexico.
Yeah, and then you have to follow up that question with a thank you. It's just common practice.
Have you experienced any cultural surprises while living or traveling in Mexico or anywhere else in the world?
Really.
Share them in the comments below. We'd love to hear about them. Now let's talk about food etiquette. In Mexico, you always eat tacos with your hands. It's hard for me to do. I don't know why. And most dishes with tortillas, which people often use to make tacos.
But how do you eat tacos not with your hands?
I find that you can get maybe a few bites of the taco, and if it's a long one, then you kind of put it through your finger, and so all the juice doesn't come out, right? Like that, you know? But then eventually the tortilla will start breaking down on you unless you eat it super fast. So then eventually I end up just using my knife and my fork. But, you do the best you can with your hands. That's customary to eat tacos with your hands. On the other hand, you might see some Mexicans eat pizza with a knife and a fork, which is what I do. And speaking of pizza, don't expect to get chili flakes and Parmesan cheese with your pizza here. Instead, you'll probably get ketchup or creamy red sauce that Mexicans all call chimichurri, which is different from the Argentinian chimichurri. Also, if someone says a salsa isn't spicy, be cautious because it might still feel spicy to you. I always say put a little bit on the side of your plate, try it first before you just pour it onto your taco or whatever your meal is, just to make sure the spice level is okay for you.
Very nice.
Yeah, because even the salsa that
Korean
they say
dude that's driving like a
isn't
maniac.
spicy.
Jesus Christ, dude. You're a fucking idiot, man.
Spicy.
Which I love spice. So for me, the hotter the better. But a lot of people that aren't used to it just can't handle it.
Chuck?
So don't be caught off guard there. Now let's talk about meal time. At the start of the meal, you say to everyone at the table, buen provecho. Or you can shorten it to provecho. It's the same as saying bon appetit
Buen
or enjoy your
appetit.
meal. The most common response
Enjoy your
is
meal.
gracias, buen provecho.
Whoops, what the hell? What did I do? Oh, man.
The most common response is gracias, buen provecho, or
Buen provecho. Gracias.
which is simply an endearing way of saying it.
I think all of Latin America likes to make everything small.
Yeah.
So a café es un cafecito, un taco es un taquito, everything, un pan es un pancito.
Or pancito, depending on the region.
We always have the debate of pan, or when we say pan, we say panecito or pancito. I always say pancito.
Yeah, Spanish speakers out there, what do you say? We'd be curious to help us solve this debate.
We always do. In my household, it was always pancito.
Yeah.
In your household, it was always panecito.
Mm-hmm.
Both are correct. And they're both used in Mexico.
Well, I think one or the other is grammatically correct, but there are regional differences. And we still are trying to sort that one through.
It's also very common for people to say buen provecho in restaurants to total strangers. So say you're at a table eating your meal and someone walks by you and sits at the table next to you. When they walk by you, they will say buen provecho or provecho, and it's very nice when you say that. So if you say that to a table in a restaurant, you will get really nice responses, and they'll look back at you and say gracias.
Unless their mouth is full, and then they'll do this like. We'll talk about that later. This brings us to the next unwritten rule: non-verbal communication. This is huge in Mexico. You might not always catch the meaning right away, but getting familiar with the common hand gestures will help you blend in. For instance, that little finger nod that I just did when responding to provecho is used as an acknowledgement.
So a lot of people in Mexico, I don't know if they do this in Latin America or if it's just a Mexican
I think it's a Mexican thing.
I learned this a long time ago from a friend. So let's just say you're eating with friends and everybody's mouth is full and someone says something and you want to say an agreement like yes, that's right. You just do your finger like this. You go.
Yeah, it would be similar to us up north going like this, but it's done with the finger.
Finger.
It's a subtle way of saying yes without words. Am I right?
I don't know if it's like non-verbal communication slang version.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know the origins of it, but I don't think that the older crowd does it. I think it's like the younger crowd does
I don't know. That's a good question. You guys know? Let us know.
Does anybody know? Because we learned this years ago, but we don't know where it came from. Now, for no, this one's pretty straightforward. Raise your index finger and wag it side to side. No difference there. It's a polite way to decline without having to speak. And while we're on the subject of dining out, if you want the check, you don't need to call the waiter. Just get his attention and raise your hand and make the motion like you're writing something. It's a universal sign for check.
If you're discussing prices or negotiating, you might see someone make the money gesture, where the index finger and the thumb form a U shape. It's a common way to indicate cost or that something is expensive.
You might see people extend their thumb and their pinky with the rest of the fingers tucked in and bring their thumb toward their mouth. It's a fun way to say, let's have a drink without saying a word.
If something is far away, people may
Wait a second, what'd she say? She said
the money gesture, where the index finger and
someone
the
will put
thumb form a U shape.
thumb to their
It's
mouth.
a common way
Oh, okay,
to
yeah.
indicate cost or that something is expensive.
You might see people extend their thumb and their pinky with the rest of
Oh,
the
okay,
fingers
yeah, I see what
tucked
you're saying,
in
yeah.
and bring their thumb toward their mouth. It's a fun way to say, let's have a drink without saying a word.
If something is far away, people may wave their hand outward at forehead level like this. It's a good way to like this. It's a good way to indicate a long distance when giving directions.
If you're holding up an index finger, it means the number 1, not wait. So to ask someone to wait, Mexicans will bring their thumb and their index finger together like this. to demonstrate the gesture. It's like a little bit gesture you might see in other countries, but here it means hold on just a moment, like this. So like sometimes the San Miguel streets are very narrow, so it's just for one car. Someone will stop in front of you to offload something, and they'll look at you and they'll go like this. And then you're like, okay, they're just gonna be here for a moment. Whereas in the States, if you do this, that just means like, give me a moment, give me a minute, you know?
Hold on a minute,
Hold on a minute. That's not the same here. You need to do this.
Another gesture you'll see a lot is the thank you gesture, which is like this. You bring your hand, your palm facing you. It reminds me of the old days when people used to wear hats and they would tip the hat. Thank you. I think that's maybe where it came from.
I'm not sure.
Makes sense. If anybody knows the origin, let us know. But basically it's this. So for example, if you're driving in the street and you let a pedestrian go by, the pedestrian will do this as he walks across the street, acknowledging that he's thanking you.
Also, if you're driving and someone lets you go first, then you always give the thank you. Having lived in the U.S. for most of our lives, I always tend to do like this, like thank you, you letting me by, thank you for letting me in. And that's just wrong, and it might be misinterpreted. Stop or hello, but to say thank you, it's this motion, right? I still can't get used to that one, but I try. Now let's talk about dining out. You might find yourselves being turned away from a restaurant that is completely empty. It isn't because they don't want your business. It's because all the tables might be already reserved. In Mexico, the meal experience is not rushed like it is in the US. It's not about how many tables are you going to turn over in a night. It's once a person gets their table, it's yours for the rest of the night. So they fear that if I have a reservation coming in at 8 o'clock and it's now 6:30 and you're like, but there's that table, it's empty, why can't I sit there to eat? And they say it's reserved. They think that you're going to sit down and you're going to take the table for the rest of the night, and you can't. So a lot of the times what we'll do is we'll say, hey, what time is the reservation? 8 o'clock. Well, it's 6:30 and we're just going to eat and we're going to leave. We promise. We're not going to linger. And they're like, okay, sit down and eat.
Sometimes.
A lot of the times you can communicate that and tell them, I'm just going to sit, we're just going to eat, and we're going to go. We understand that you have a reservation and we will not overstay.
Yeah.
And it's not a problem most of the time.
Yeah, if they have a bar, it's a pretty safe bet that you can actually get seated there. So if you see a bar and you don't mind sitting at the bar, you could choose to sit there too.
When people finish their meal, the waiter will not come to the table with the check. The table is theirs for the night, and they will not be rushed. And if you're not aware of this custom, you might feel ignored, but that isn't it at all. It's if you don't ask for your check, you're not going to get your check.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, did you order at Kentucky?
Yes, sir.
All right. Your name is Luis? Luis, right?
I mean, I'm used to it, but just stay safe out there, you know? Yeah, all right.
Oh man, some crazy stuff is going on, man.
Try to get you out of there so that somebody else can come in. It's your table for the night. Don't misinterpret that as them ignoring you.
Yeah, you just have to get used to asking for the check, and they'll be happy to bring it to you. But otherwise, they just won't bring it.
While tipping is expected, it's different from the US, where a standard tip these days is 20% or more. Or Europe, where you round up to the nearest euro. In Mexico, a tip of 10 to 15% is typical, depending on the service. Most Mexicans tip 10%. San Miguel de Allende is unique in that because of the foreign influx, it's become almost standard to tip 15%, but the rest of Mexico is still at 10%.
San Miguel de Allende, they live down there. Interesting.
Taco stands, it is not customary to tip, but a small tip is always appreciated.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever gone to a taco stand and not given them, I don't know.
If it's 23 pesos, maybe we give them 25 or 30.
You give them something. You just give them something.
Here's one you might not know. Public restrooms in Mexico often don't have toilet paper in the stalls. You either grab some at the entrance or bring your own. Also, public restrooms are usually not free. You'll pay 5 to 10 pesos depending on where you are. Once you pay, the bathroom attendant hands you a strip of toilet paper and sometimes paper towels to dry your hands. The bathrooms are often basic, but you'll find them very, very clean because there is that attendant that's always there maintaining the bathroom.
If it's a bathroom where you pay, then most likely it's going to be cleaner than one that isn't attended to that's completely free and it's just dirty and a total mess.
Yeah.
So it's very customary to pay 5 to 10 pesos at a bus station, at a gas station. Things like that.
Yeah.
All restaurants, of course, have their own bathrooms, and you don't have to pay for those. And in many places, you're expected to throw the toilet paper in the trash bin instead of flushing it. It can feel really unusual and strange to throw it into the trash can that's next to the toilet, but it's important to keep the plumbing functioning smoothly. So you have to keep going with the flow on that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't want to clog the toilet.
No, and that can be a little off-putting when you walk into a stall and you see a trash can full of dirty toilet paper, but that's how it is.
KTLA
Also,
Channel
be
5
very
News.
careful which restroom you enter. You'll usually see an H and an M on the doors indicating the sex. Now, men do not confuse the M to mean men. M stands for mujeres, which means women. So M is for mujeres and H is for hombres.
I have to admit, when we first moved here and we went someplace, I don't remember where we were, I saw the M and I went straight to the M. And quickly realized I was in the wrong bathroom. Very embarrassing. Don't make that mistake. Now let's talk about Mexico's unofficial dress code. In Mexico's interior regions like San Miguel de Allende, where we are, Oaxaca, Mexico City, etc., people typically do not wear shorts in the streets unless they're going to the gym or participating in sports. There is no bigger giveaway that you're a tourist than wearing shorts in the streets, even in high temperatures.
Now, that doesn't mean that you can't come here on a hot day and not wear shorts. You can wear shorts. No one's gonna look at you funny because you're wearing shorts.
They'll just know you're a tourist.
But even that, it's not even a big deal that they know that you're a tourist. You're free to wear shorts. It's not that you cannot. It's just that the locals don't. They will be wearing jeans most likely or some type of pant. But the Mexican men don't wear, most of the time they don't wear shorts unless it's super hot outside. They'll wear like longish shorts. And that's more the youth, I think. So it's not that you cannot wear shorts as a tourist when you visit the interior part of Mexico, because you definitely can. You can go to restaurants with shorts. It's not a big deal. It's just that you'll see that the locals don't do it. That's all. And also, if you're going to be going into the churches and a lot of the monuments and things like that, you should just be conscientious. Also, you won't see men walking around without a shirt. Not like in the beach communities. I think that's you know, it's so hot, humid. You know, guys walk around without a shirt on. But here you'll never see somebody without a shirt on.
Really?
And wearing fanny packs or flip-flops might mark you as a tourist in urban areas, but who cares? You can wear fanny packs and flip-flops if you want to. Now let's talk about time perception in Mexico. Time is flexible here. Being a little late is acceptable, especially for casual gatherings. So don't stress if you arrive 15 to 20 minutes is okay.
Yeah, in fact, if you arrive 30 minutes after, people will think you're early most of the time.
But we usually arrive to parties on time or 5 minutes early. We can't break that habit. We have not been able to break that habit, and I don't think I ever can, because I'm one that arrives on time to everything, and that's just the way I was brought up. It also isn't uncommon for stores or shops to also open a little bit late. So you might look up on Google that this store opens up at 10 a.m. It does not mean they're going to open up at 10 a.m. I always just assume that they're going to open at least 10:30, maybe even 11. So don't ever count on the Google times being correct.
Yeah, and in places of the country where siesta is still observed, where shops shut down from 2 to 4, the same thing applies there. Don't show up at 4 thinking that the place is going to be open. They probably won't reopen until at least 4:30.
4:15, 4:30.
Yeah.
But not right at 4. So yeah, we've gotten used to that.
That said, for formal appointments or business meetings, it's best to be on time. There's a difference between Mexican time for social events and punctuality in professional settings. You're also expected to arrive at your doctor's appointment on time. However, expect the doctor to be late.
Yes, always. We have rarely gone to a doctor's appointment where we are seen at the time that they give us. But if you're late,
even here in the United
that's
States,
a problem.
too,
But if they're late, it's totally okay. There's also a very common word that you hear a lot here in Mexico, and it's ahorita. Ahorita could mean right now, but it could also mean in an hour, tomorrow. When you hear this, just know that the person will eventually get around to it, but you just don't know exactly when that's going to be.
Another tipping situation that might surprise you is baggers at supermarkets and parking attendants.
Well, they give
They
a lot of
usually
good
are not
information.
employed by the stores, and they rely on our tips. So it's common to tip them a few pesos for their help. If you see a person in a parking lot guiding you out of the parking spot, even if you know you can do it yourself, remember to tip them a few pesos.
It's a very small gesture, but much appreciated. Keep a handful of coins handy when you're out running errands. I always make sure that I have enough coinage in my purse, because you will be giving out pesos here and there all day long when you go out to do things. It's just the way it is. Now let's talk about another one that might surprise you. Terms of endearment, or nicknames based on appearance. In Mexico, people use words like güero for someone light-skinned or blonde, negro for someone with dark skin, gordo for chubby, flaco for skinny, chato for someone with a small nose as an affectionate nickname. This has always been kind of difficult for me.
Yeah, because we come from a country where you don't call people by names by the way they look. It's considered rude, but here it's not.
It's not. Yes. So I remember, for example, like your mom, who's from Guatemala. There was a painter, and he was really heavy, really heavy.
Gordito.
And she would call him flaco, which means skinny. And I would just cringe every single time she said it, but it's okay to do that here.
Yeah, and most people would give the nickname of gordo to somebody who's fat. It's very, very, very normal. It's accepted. It's not rude. And
Yes, if you're short, you call someone chaparro, which means shorty. So yeah, it's completely accepted here, but I think that's one that we leave to the locals.
yeah, meals in Mexico follow a different schedule than in many other countries. The biggest meal of the day is comida, which is typically eaten between 2 and 4. Some restaurants don't even open until 2, and some fast food restaurants serve breakfast until 1 or 2. So if you find yourself at the Golden Arches at noon, you'll be eating McMuffins.
Which is weird, isn't it?
It's different. Again, it's a different culture, it's a different place, and that's the way it works here. Dinner or cena is usually much lighter and eaten later in the evening, sometimes as late as 9 or 10. If you're used to having dinner earlier, you're going to have to adjust.
And usually dinner consists of just a bite of something. It's not a big meal. Usually they'll have like one little taco or a piece of bread with something to drink. That's what dinner is, because 2 to 4, the comida. So that's their big meal of the day. And then cena is a light something. I remember when I would go to Petitlan as a kid to visit my aunts and uncles and my grandparents. Yeah, 2 to 4 we would have the big meal of the day, and then at night they would buy little taquitos. And we would have 1 or 2 of those with something to drink, and that was around 8 o'clock, 8:30, and then that was it. And then off to bed you went around 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. Breakfast in Mexico may or may not consist of eggs, and usually do not contain ham or bacon. It is more common for Mexicans to eat tamales, atole, which is a corn drink, chilaquiles or enchiladas, among other things, and some dishes may even have chicken. Like you might order chilaquiles with chicken on top, or enchiladas with chicken inside. They don't really eat bacon every day or ham every single day for breakfast.
We've just scratched the surface. We could write a book on this subject.
Yeah, you guys have a lot of good information,
this
man.
Gets you closer to understanding some of Mexico's unwritten rules that can help you avoid cultural misunderstandings.
Remember that being polite and showing respect goes a long way. Whether you're a visitor or a long-term expat, being respectful and courteous is number 1.
And with that, see you in the next video.
Okay. That's good. Wow. And we're at the 2 hours. How much battery? I was in 37 minutes. Tangerine Travels. Wow. She still calls it Tangerine Travels. Let me see why these people left.
Have you ever wondered what life could be like if
Began the process of leaving the U.S. and found something better here in Mexico.
In this video, we're sharing how moving to Mexico changed our lives, from escaping the 9-to-5 grind to creating a life full of freedom, adventure, and fulfillment.
And if you've ever dreamt of living somewhere new or taking a leap for a better life, stick around and we'll show you how you can do it too.
For us, the decision to leave the U.S. was driven by 4 key factors.
First, we weren't in love with our jobs. We were both professionals working in our fields, doing what everybody expected of us and what we thought we were supposed to do, but we weren't fulfilled. You know the feeling, working day in, day out, feeling like you're stuck in a routine. We wanted more from life.
Factor number 2, we didn't have any kids or relatives who depended on us, so we had more flexibility. But even if you have family, it's all about finding the right time for yourself. You can choose to do what we did as a family. We know families who moved here with their kids and parents. We also know others who live a nomadic lifestyle with their little kids. More and more, our friends our age are moving their parents here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are people in their 30s with little children.
Raising their children here, learning to speak 2 languages. The schools are really good when your kids are small and they can learn 2 languages, get a great education through high school. We have lots of friends with kids who have done their schooling all the way through high school, and then they get accepted into universities in the United States.
We want to point this out because don't let the kids stop you. Don't let having kids stop you. If you want the change for yourself and for your family, you don't need to wait until you're an old person. Now let's talk about the third point, which is money. It's a huge factor for anyone considering a big move. At 35, we were doing okay financially, contributing to our 401k funds, but we didn't have enough to retire.
No, not even close. So we had to figure out how to generate income when we were going to make the big jump and move to Mexico. Back then, 19 years ago, when we started the process, options of remote work were limited. There wasn't anything at the time.
Hardly anything. And so we
first trip together to Guatemala and Costa Rica. We just wanted to travel and travel and travel. So every year we would take a big trip somewhere, a crew vacation, take a trip somewhere interesting, and we would always say, we could live here. Why do we need to go back to the States and live there? Why can't we move somewhere else? And that's where the idea really started. And then we decided that maybe we could make a living at a small hotel or bed and breakfast. I actually have a degree in hospitality management, was what I studied. So, and we had stayed at plenty of bed and breakfasts in our travels, and we thought this is something that we can do, but we need to do it somewhere where we can afford to buy a building or build something. We were thinking about Guatemala, where you're from. We thought about Europe. And then we kind of came to the decision that we wanted to do it somewhere where we could fly back to the United States in case we needed to go home in an emergency for our parents or any family member that was having an emergency, we could get home in a day. That was kind of the requirement. I'm half Mexican, so we decided on Mexico, and we were trying to narrow down where in Mexico. So we were watching a TV show called Radical Sabbatical, and it featured an American couple that was on sabbatical in San Miguel. We had never seen San Miguel before, and we thought, wow, that town is really beautiful. Why don't we go to San Miguel and do a research trip? And that's what we did. We came to San Miguel for, I think it was like a 10-day trip, and we stayed at several B&Bs in town while we were here, and we also met a real estate agent and looked at buildings, but we didn't like any of the buildings that we saw that we could convert into B&Bs. And we were sitting at a B&B not too far from where we live now, and we sat down at the breakfast table with this other older gentleman, and he looked over at us and he said, what are you kids doing in San Miguel? And we said, well, we came to look at property that we could convert into a B&B, but we haven't found anything that we like, nothing that's going to work. And he said, why would you buy a building already built? Why wouldn't you build something? And we said, we know nothing about building in Mexico. We don't even know if we can afford that. And he said, I'm a builder. I'm from Austin, Texas, but I build homes in San Miguel for fun. He was semi-retired. He said to us, I just bought a piece of land. It became mine yesterday. I remember this vividly. And he said, why don't you guys meet me this afternoon on this piece of land, and we can discuss building a bed and breakfast. And we thought, okay, how much is this going to cost? We had no idea if we could even afford it. And we did. We came, we met him on the piece of land that we're on right now. He said, you know, this has a beautiful little 17th. It was falling apart and crumbly. You know, it was on a piece of land with rocks and corn stalks and garbage. And he we could build everything you want on this piece of land. And we thought, oh my gosh, what were you thinking at the time?
I was thinking, this is insane. We were going to take our time and look for the perfect spot over the next 5 years. And this is only our first stop of what we thought would be many places that we would visit. It was too good to pass up.
It fell into our laps, literally.
Yeah. And we didn't have all the money. This is an important point, is we didn't have all the money to give this guy.
No.
We only had about half the amount, and the rest of the plan. Homes. And we told this to this man, and he said, oh, don't worry about it, just give me a down payment. I'll build the house for you, and at the end, you can get the loan for the rest of it and pay me the rest.
Yeah, so we went back home to San Francisco. We told our family that we're selling our house, we're going to put it up on the market, and we're going to build a bed and breakfast in Mexico. And nobody knew about what we were thinking. We hadn't told anyone a peep, because you know, you tell people things and you just never know what they're going to say, and we didn't want to hear the negative comments, and we just wanted to make the decision on our own and then tell people. So we told everybody, and everybody was in an uproar and went crazy, and Mom started crying, and all those things happened. And then we put our house on the market. The guy we met here in San Miguel that was going to build our B&B flew to San Francisco. We signed contracts with him in San Francisco. Then we sold our home, moved into an apartment while the B&B was going to be built. We continued working our jobs, and we came to San Miguel as often as we could to see the progression of the building process. It took much longer than we thought.
Yeah, they told us it was going to be a 14 to 15 month construction, but it almost took 3 years.
3 years, yeah. It was a complicated build though, also.
And this was leading up to the recession of the early 2000s.
Yeah.
The stock market had bottomed out that year, and all these loan programs were going away, and we were worried that we might not be able to get the mortgage that we needed for homes outside of the United States. These are special programs that were just dropping like flies. But we were lucky to be able to get this loan in October of 08, just in the nick of time.
Yeah. So then December of 08, I quit my job and I moved here first.
Yep.
And I got here, didn't really know a soul, and I had to figure out where to go source all the furniture, the beds, I mean everything that went into the building. Back then, we're talking about, December of 08, everything was handmade in San Miguel, everything. You didn't go buy a pre-made anything. Everything was made. Dining room tables, chairs, everything was just made for you by the carpenter, the herrero, the iron guy, everything. That was a process. February of 09, we received our very first guests.
Yeah, so between October and February, we got the website up and running.
You did all the technical stuff.
Yeah.
And I did all the furniture and design stuff.
So we had the reservation program up online. We were ready to go. So we had to be ready by February. I think it went up live before we were even ready to take guests. Because we didn't know how long it was going to take for people to start reserving, but we got it done. So
yeah.
February, our first guests arrived.
Which we're still friends with on Facebook.
Yeah, all these years later.
All these years later.
And then the swine flu hit in May, and the few reservations we had, they all canceled.
Yeah.
It turned out to be a non-event at the end of the day, but it still killed the little bit of business that we had. Long story short, it took 3 years for us to get to the break-even point. This whole time I kept working in the States. Once we hit the break-even point, we wanted to wait a little longer to make sure that we were going to be making money, enough money for me to quit, which we did. And 5 years after opening...
5.5 years later.
5.5 years after opening, I finally quit my job in the States and moved down full time. Now, the last couple of years, I was flying in and out, spending 9 days here and 5 days in the States. I was lucky that I had a remote job. I had projects in different places, so I didn't have to be in the office 5 days a week, so that gave me the freedom to be able to come down. At least there was that.
Yeah.
But the whole point was us both moving to a new place.
That was our plan.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work out that way, but we had to do whatever it took to make it work.
Yeah. But 5 years later, we did make it work. And
5.5 years later.
Yes. So that was...
I was counting every month that I was here by myself.
That was July of 14. So we've been here together full-time since 2014.
Yeah.
And we've loved every minute of it. It hasn't been easy. We've had our struggles financially, but we wouldn't trade this lifestyle for the world.
No, it's so much better than our 9-to-5 jobs that we had, that we both hated. Yeah, our lives are so much better having moved here.
And we did this at 35, and we did it successfully. It was hard, but it was worth it. And that's just to say, you can do it too. You can do whatever you want to do. You don't need to wait until you're 65 in order to start traveling the world or visiting new places or doing your hobby or whatever it is. Just start now.
Yeah.
If this sounds familiar to you and you've ever thought about leaving behind the daily grind for a better life, now is the perfect time to hit that subscribe button.
Join us as we share how we built our dream life in Mexico, explore other places to live, slow travel, I'm excited about that, and create our own path. Don't miss out on any tips, personal stories, or advice that we have to offer.
You're not going to want to miss what's coming up next. Back to point number 3, we took a risk and built our boutique B&B in Mexico. It was a big leap, but it worked out, and we've been running it ever since. I also started a brewery, which I ran for 10 years before selling it.
The point here is that sometimes you have to take chances in life. Not every venture is going to be a home run, but even those that don't pay off are often more fulfilling than sticking to a 9-to-5 that drains you. That is definitely something we have learned.
Working remotely today is so much easier than it was 20 years ago.
These days you have endless remote work options. You can freelance as a web designer, graphic artist, or even as a therapist or doctor. You can sell photos or videos online. If you love your job, you to do it remotely.
Or like us, you can start a YouTube channel. The point is, there are countless ways for you to support yourself financially while living abroad these days.
The fourth reason we left the U.S. was our dream of exploration. Since we were both young, we dreamt of living somewhere completely different. I remember as a kid going to spend summers with my grandparents in Mexico, and I never wanted to go home. I always wanted to stay. I would beg my parents to let me stay with my cousin and go to school in Mexico and live here. And of course they would always say no, and I'd always have to go back. But I always had this dream that I would live in Mexico someday. And at 35, we were ready to settle down in Mexico and build our lives here.
And now at 54, our dream has evolved. We want to explore more of the world and slow travel, really immersing ourselves in new cultures and different places.
That's why we started this channel, to not only share our experiences in Mexico, where we've lived for over 15 years, but also to document our adventures as we explore the world.
So, why did we find a better life here in Mexico? It starts with the simple fact that we're living our dream of being in a new place, surrounded by rich culture and beautiful scenery.
We also build a business that gives us the freedom to travel whenever we want, for however long we want. That kind of flexibility is priceless.
And it's not just about financial freedom. For us, living in Mexico is incredibly fulfilling. We've immersed ourselves in the local culture, we've tasted amazing food, and we've embraced new traditions.
Plus, the practical side of things is a big bonus. Mexico offers lower cost of living, excellent healthcare, and much better work-life balance. It's made our everyday life so much better. So we've told you a little bit about our story, our life story, how we left the U.S. and found a better life here in Mexico. But everyone's dream looks different. Maybe yours doesn't look like ours. Maybe for you it's moving from the city to the country, or vice versa.
Or maybe you've always dreamed of living in another country, Thailand, the Philippines, Greece, Japan, somewhere else. Slow travel might be your style.
The point is, if you're feeling unfulfilled and wondering if there's more to life than your current routine, you can make your dreams a reality. It starts with the first step. We're here to share the ups and downs and everything in between as we continue exploring the world and creating our own path.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you in the next video. Maybe we'll see you in the next video. No, maybe we'll see you.
I got a chili dog. Look, just about finishing. At Tommy's. Excuse me. Oh man. Oh man. Alright, I'm gonna go use the bathroom real quick. And oh man. Right back. Okay.
Have you ever wondered what life could be like if you just packed up everything and left everything behind?
We did just that. 19 years ago, we began the process of leaving the U.S. and found something better here in Mexico.
In this video, we're sharing how moving to Mexico changed our lives from escaping the 9-to-5 grind to creating a life full of freedom, adventure, and fulfillment.
And if you've ever dreamt of living somewhere new or taking a leap for a better life, stick around and we'll show you how you can do it too.
For us, the decision to leave the U.S. was driven by 4 key factors.
First, we weren't in love with our jobs. We were both professionals working in our fields, doing what everybody expected of us and what we thought we were supposed to do, but we weren't fulfilled. You know the feeling, working day in, day out, feeling like you're stuck in a routine. We wanted more from life.
Factor number 2, we didn't have any kids or relatives who depended on us, so we had more flexibility. But even if you have family, it's all about finding the right time for yourself. You can choose to do what we did as a family. We know families who moved here with their kids and parents. We also know others who live a nomadic lifestyle with their little kids. More and more our friends our age are moving their parents here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are people in their 30s with little children.
Raising their children here, learning to speak 2 languages. The schools are really good when your kids are small and they can learn 2 languages, get a great education through high school. We have lots of friends with kids who have done their schooling all the way through high school, and then they get accepted into universities in the United States.
We want to point this out because don't let the kids stop you. Don't let having kids stop you. If you want the change for yourself and for your family, you don't need to wait until you're an old person. Now let's talk about the third point, which is money. It's a huge factor for anyone considering a big move. At 35, we were doing okay financially, contributing to our 401k.
Hi, give me 1 quick second.
Okay, I have a DoorDash pickup.
Just go for it, please.
Thank you.
So we had to figure out how to generate income when we were going to make the big jump and move to Mexico. Back then, 19 years ago, when we started the process, options of remote work were limited. There wasn't anything at the time.
Hardly anything. So we needed to figure out how we could do it. We looked at things like starting a tour company, doing tours, a tour agency. We even looked at.
Hi, who are you picking up for?
The person's name is Walder.
Could you park in the front with it making? It's not ready yet.
Oh, it's not ready? Oh, okay. That's all right. I'll just pull up it.
Because of our love for travel, which we got the travel bug when we were 27 years old in 1997, and we took our first trip together to Guatemala and Costa Rica, we just wanted to travel and travel and travel. So every year we would take a big trip somewhere, a crew vacation, take a trip somewhere interesting, and we would always say, we can live here, but we need to go back to the States and live there. Why can't we move somewhere else? And that's where the idea really started. And then we decided that maybe we could make a living at a small hotel or bed and breakfast. I actually have a degree in hospitality management, is what I studied. So I had stayed at plenty of bed and breakfasts in our travels, and we thought this is something that we can do, but we need to do it somewhere where we can afford to buy a building or build something. We were thinking about Guatemala, where you're from. We thought about Europe, and then we kind of came to the decision that we wanted to do it somewhere where we could fly back to the United States in case we needed to go home in an emergency for our parents or any family member that was having an emergency. We could get home in a day. That was kind of the requirement. I'm half Mexican, so we decided on Mexico, and we were trying to narrow down where in Mexico. So we were watching a TV show called Radical Sabbatical, and it featured an American couple that was on sabbatical in San Miguel. We had never seen San Miguel before, and we thought, wow, that town is really beautiful. Why don't we go to San Miguel and do a research trip? And that's what we did. We came to San Miguel for, I think it was like a 10-day trip, and we stayed at several B&Bs in town while we were here, and we also met a real estate agent and looked at buildings, but we didn't like any of the buildings that we saw that we could convert into B&Bs, and we were sitting at a B&B not too far
Hey guys,
from where we live now, and we sat
I
down
am
at
waiting
the
for an
table with this
order.
other older gentleman, and he looked over at us and he said, what are you kids doing in San Miguel? And we said, well, we came to look at property that we could convert into a
It's taking longer than I thought, so let me end the stream. Thanks for tuning in, Zorp. Anyone else? Have a wonderful evening. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.